welcome to Investing in Ukraine, Europe's Final Frontier. This week we'll be talking about Ukraine's gradually improving hotel sector and asking whether the added impetus of Euro 2012 will help or hinder ongoing modernisation efforts. Should Ukraine be focusing exclusively on accommodating hundreds of thousands of football fans, or does the country's hotel sector have more important strategic considerations? In the past few years, many of the world's leading hotel chains have opened five-star flagships in the Ukrainian capital. But this recent surge in international investment cannot disguise the general lack of modern hotel facilities throughout Ukraine. Whilst most major cities across the country now have at least one or two establishments which meet international standards, travellers often complain of sky-high prices and service standards which owe much to Soviet work ethics and bear little resemblance to the kind of care international guests expect. Over the next few years, most of Ukraine's regional capitals will witness the growth of good mid-range hotels catering to a business clientele. But with attention focused on Euro 2012, there is a danger that strategically sound long-term projects might end up being overlooked in favour of more fanciful initiatives tied to Ukraine's role as co-hosts of the 2012 championships. Our guests today in the studio are Lev Holobyets of PricewaterhouseCoopers and Yelena Arkhipova of Erste Holding. Thanks for joining us. Lev, is there a danger that all the focus on Euro 2012 hotel building is going to distract attention from other areas where perhaps it's more that they need more effort at this stage?
That's a very good question, and I think that the issue here is that Euro 2012 is an event that attracts a lot of attention, and not only in the hotel industry, but in the country in general, including all of the infrastructure development that's required. But I think that Ukrainian businesses and Ukrainian businessmen need to think much further than Euro 2012 in terms of their investment and in terms of their opportunity with respect to the hotel sector.
Are projects currently being put on hold in order to prioritize Euro 2012 initiatives?
There are examples of projects being put on hold, and the issue is that Euro 2012 is, and I guess this would be considered the positive side of the 2012 development, that there are real deadlines and real construction issues and challenges that need to be addressed in order to make that deadline. I think each businessman, however, will be making their own decision in terms of where their dollars or their hryvnia should be spent in terms of the core investment and which projects are going to return in both the short term and the long term.
Yelena, in terms of investment into the hotel sector, obviously in the last few years we've seen quite a lot, specifically in Kiev, certainly in the big five-star hotels coming into the Ukrainian capital. Which areas do you think are going to show the most growth in the next few years?
Well, for example, if you look at the history, like early 2000 year, for example, all international brands were actively looking at the market. They were looking at the Kiev market and other cities the same as to other Moscow, for example, market and other cities in Russia and Eastern Europe. But what happened, that none of them would want to invest their own funds. So it were only local groups who invested in the projects. And most of the projects were image projects rather than pure investment. That's why the five-star segment was very actively developing. These days, hotel brands are actively again looking at the market, and Euro 2012 probably one of the reasons why they are much more concerned to be present in Kiev and other cities. But I don't believe that, and I don't see opportunity for them to invest their own funds, because still it's a bit risky market for them. And for local investors, so first of all, there are some financial constraints for most and for all the players in the market. And second, I think the 3- and 4-star segment is much more attractive in terms of investing the funds in the near future. And this is the market that really lacks the rooms, really lacks the projects.
3- and 4-star hotels, you mean in the big cities, in the regional cities? Where do you see the growth coming most?
I think it's everywhere. First of all, really it's big cities, like big cities with the citizens, with population over 1 million people. But smaller markets as well, especially where, for example, leisure facilities are concentrated.
So you mean in holiday resorts?
Yes, holiday resorts. We all know that there are 3 types of tourism in the hotel segment. First is business, second is corporate events and conferences, and the third one is leisure. If we're talking about conferences, it's non-existent in Ukraine simply because there is no infrastructure. No one would want to hold an international conference in Ukraine because there are no conference facilities, transportation is very difficult, and so on and so on. In terms of leisure facilities, it's very, again, limited and should be strongly supported by the government. There should be some government initiatives that would promote this market. So what we have now, we have only business segment, and the competition for the business travel is very severe in the market, especially in Kyiv.
So demand is outstripping supply, in other words, at the moment? There's not enough rooms available to cover the business traffic?
It's not enough, and also it's not enough quality rooms. For example, if we look at the old stock that is coming from the old Soviet times, there is a huge amount of stock. Probably we are even oversupply, but the quality of this stock is not sufficient, so no one wants to live there.
Why has Ukraine lagged behind its East European neighbours in this particular respect?
That's a very good question, Peter. And I think that to look at the hotel sector in isolation is probably not the way to address this question. I think one needs to look at the entire economy in general and the flow and the growth of the Ukrainian economy over the last couple of years prior to this recent crisis, and also forecasting what we expect in the next 5 to 10 years as well. To build a hotel and to leverage the investment takes at least 3 years. And what we'll notice in the next few years is a crop of new hotel rooms that are surfacing based on decisions that were made during the boom years of 2006 to 2008. And the issue is that these hotel rooms are going to fill a need, and as Elena had mentioned, that there is a mismatch of supply and demand, but they certainly will not catch up to the latent demand that is in the market going forward, both from a business perspective and also from a tourism perspective.